Let's start with the 6-7 teams, and I just want to. How do I? There we go. The 6-7 team, and I'd like
What's
to
that?
point out
What is this? I don't know what
where
that
that's.
is.
I don't know what that is. I'd like to think that we're hip
I've
to
never
it.
seen it before. I've never heard of it.
Right.
Those
I
two
just like to think it's
numbers
just like
next
they
to each
tell us.
other.
It just says on my notes here, do the hands. So I'm assuming that's what that is. All right, everybody, welcome back. As always, I am your party host, Joe Rivera, and along with me, as always, is one of the preeminent ball knowers of USA Today Sports, and that's Chris Bumbaca. Boom. First and foremost, I want to give you a quick thank you for holding it down while I hit IR last week and I was out. Everybody's playing hurt this time of year, but I appreciate that first and foremost. So thank you.
We have a next man up mentality on this podcast, Joe. It's how we're always going to be.
Yeah, and a lot of things happen in Week 14, man. Playoff picture shuffled. We'll get into all of that. But first and foremost, Boom, we got to talk about this Raiders thing, man. Raiders with a backdoor cover yesterday. Your thoughts on this? Because, I have some thoughts here, but I want to hear what your biggest takeaway from this is.
So, first of all, the Broncos became the second team ever to win 5 road games in a season by 7 points or less, joining the 2003 New England Patriots. Look, as far as the 7.5, the hook, all this and that, field goals as time expires, the Broncos defender sat on Tyler Lockett, which got the flag thrown and why they were able to run another play, right? Not sure what the reasoning is for going for the field goal necessarily, but I'm not going to cast any aspersions upon Pete Carroll. Point being, if you're betting on the Broncos to cover a spread, you shouldn't be betting. Simple as that. You only have yourself to blame, nobody else.
Yeah, with your head, not over it, right? And the thing is, I really want to say, I think the tinfoil hats, we got to take a step back, man. There's no conspiracies here. There's no league-wide whatever happening. No backdoor, no glad hand and handshakes. None of this happening to allow teams to cover spreads or bets. We just got to be honest with ourselves and say, Vegas, they're very good at this. They know what they're doing when they set these lines. That's the bottom line here, right? So everybody just step back from the Twitter machine for 2 seconds and just take a breath, okay? It's not about conspiracies.
I think it is a little interesting, though, that this, of course, happened in Las Vegas to the Vegas team, or with the Vegas team
Coincidence.
participating, I should say.
Right.
So antennas up, sure, but, it's probably going to get cracked down by the tunnel you're driving through. So, you know, God bless you if you're upset about it. I get it. But maybe just get over it.
Mm-hmm. All right, Boom. And some things we can't get over as we bring back a favorite segment of ours, and that is Monday morning quarterback. And there's a few guys who could probably earn it this week, but who's your pick? Who are we mourning this Monday morning?
Yeah, I gotta go with Daniel Jones, the Indianapolis Colts quarterback, out for the season, out for much longer after he needs Achilles surgery now to repair that tear. And feel terrible for him, feel terrible for the Colts who went all in with that Sauce Gardner trade at the deadline this year. You have an all-pro running back in Jonathan Taylor, but to really accentuate him, you need a guy in the backfield who could throw a ball, and you need a passing threat in your offense. And without Jones, I just don't think that they have that. For whatever Riley Leonard might be able to give them, I felt like he was more impressive with his legs at Notre Dame, leading them to the national title game last year. Look, Jones was playing hurt, and I commend him for being out there and wanting to play through it. And you could argue that the injury didn't have much to do with the other one, but just staying healthy has been such an issue for Daniel Jones. You're never going to criticize the toughness. He's always been out there a little bit banged up. He's always taken the hits and gotten back up, and I think that's why a lot of New York Giants fans, even though they weren't happy with his play, they always respected him because of how he was able to handle himself in situations that weren't going well, how he always displayed that toughness. So, end of the line for him in Indy. We'll see. Maybe they bring him back. Maybe he'll be a free agent after this season so he could sign with another contender perhaps halfway through next year. So, it'll be interesting to see what 2026 looks like for Daniel Jones, but he's not going to be starting again until 2027, if at all.
Yeah, it's terrible to see this end. And the Colts, who It's pretty clear at this point, unless they get some breaks their way, they're on a path to finishing 8-9 after a promising season, right? Like there is a world in which they don't win another game this season. So it really sucks for Daniel Jones, man. Non-contact, always terrible. Went down. You saw him slamming his helmet. And you know what? Shout out to him for walking off the field, right? Like, I appreciate that level
Tough
of
guy.
toughness. I appreciate that. Like, can we get him a cart, though? Like, do we need to be doing this? Anyway, but, I appreciate the Daniel Jones pick. Boom, I wouldn't be living the gimmick if I didn't say Tyrod Taylor. Again, hurts his groin. Like, it's expected at this point, 36-year-old quarterback. I mean, we know what happened with Baker Mayfield getting hurt and him leading the way to the Baker Mayfield era. He gets hurt. It leads to the Justin Herbert era with the syringe gate that happened there. He gets hurt yesterday, and it leads to the Brady Cook era, which I have a feeling it won't end as well as the other two quarterbacks. But the guy I really want to mourn, boom, is Patrick Mahomes. You throw 3 interceptions in Sunday Night Football to the Texans. You're a guy that's been at the top of the AFC West your entire career, right? And now you're not. Chiefs officially eliminated from AFC West contention. So that's tough. Best of luck to him, moving forward, trying to find as the Chiefs trying to find their way to the playoffs here. But something about the Chiefs hasn't felt right this year, right? They just haven't been crisp. We know about the offensive line. Josh Simmons was MIA for a large part of the season to start. Now he's hurt. They were missing, I want to say, 3 starters yesterday on the offensive line. Not great, but the issues go beyond that now. It's just something about it that's just off. So, if sometimes a team needs is a punch in the mouth, right? And the Chiefs got punched in the mouth in the Super Bowl. Maybe this is the second one. We'll see how they respond. But Patrick Mahomes, my Monday morning quarterback this week.
Yeah, the Holmes didn't look too great last night, but I don't know who is going to look great against that Texans defense, man. They are nasty. We'll talk more about the Chiefs a little bit, but as far as Mahomes, I think that wholesale changes are kind of required around him, and running it back in 25 will be dissected, but they definitely can't run it back in 26.
All right, boom. Let's dive into it a little bit deeper in week 14. And the playoff picture is all sorts of shaken up after yesterday. The Bears go from the number 1 seed in the NFC to the number 7 seed, thanks to their loss to the Packers. The Colts lost Daniel Jones, as we talked about. The Ravens lost control of the AFC North after, we had some bold prognostications on this podcast. The Chiefs are spiraling. The Jets are totally out of it, eliminated. We know this, 15, no help there. But let's start with the 6-7 teams. And I just want to, there we go. The 6-7 team. And I'd like
What's
to
that?
point out.
What is this?
Word, I don't know what that is. I'd like to think that we're hip to it.
I've never seen it before. I've never heard of it.
Right. I just like to think
numbers next to each other.
It just says on my notes here, do the hands. So I'm assuming that's what that is. But the Chiefs, Ravens, and Dolphins are all 6-7 teams right now. Boom. Which of these are the most concerning to you?
Concerning in terms of for the rest of the league, or concerning in terms of for themselves?
I guess it's whichever way you want to take it. I would say which concerning for themselves.
Okay. Well, the Dolphins then should be not concerned because they should be pleased with themselves. I think 4 wins in a row, 5 of their last 6. Not a bad response after firing your general manager, Mike McDaniel, making a play to keep his job as head coach there. But they've got back-to-back primetime games in the next 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure they'll have everybody wishing that they were irrelevant once again because I don't know exactly how they're going to fare against the Steelers and the Bengals, respectively. I mean, the most concerning team for themselves is definitely the Chiefs. That offense is laboring, man. Like that, it takes so much for them to get 3 yards, and then on the next play, there's an open guy, and then there's a drop, or there's an open guy and there's an overthrow. They are just not crisp at all, like you said. You can give me all of the EPA, DVOA, success rate metrics that people were using to prop up the Chiefs this entire season. They're just not a good team. And Baltimore is still in control of its own destiny in the North. So the Ravens' main opponent every week, and this has been kind of true for the last 3 years, is themselves. They just beat themselves every single week. Once they get out of their own way, I still don't think that there's anybody on their schedule this season that could beat them, and they still control their own destiny in that division race. So we'll see how it shakes out. But yeah, Chiefs have to be the most concerned with themselves. if that's
Yeah,
how we're phrasing that question.
yeah, I think so. I think the Chiefs, like we discussed, it just doesn't look like Chiefs football, at least what we're accustomed to. I think this goes back a little further, Boom. And I know they won a Super Bowl without this guy, but ever since the Chiefs move off of Tyreek Hill, it almost feels like they've been trying to replace him in the aggregate, and it hasn't really worked. Right. And obviously you still have Travis Kelsey there and you still try and figure it out. And but Travis Kelsey's older now, right? Patrick Mahomes still is working behind a makeshift offensive line. To your point, there have been overthrows. They were missing Rashi Rice for a large part of the start of the season. Xavier Worthy gets hurt, so like it was just never right this season. So yeah, I definitely think they're the most concerning. I will say this though, credit where credit is due here. Boom. The Dolphins, I don't, they're not concerning in either way, but I would say they're the most intriguing, right? You get to this point after, like you mentioned, they move on from Chris Greer. Everything that happened with Tua Tagovailoa and the meetings and the team meetings, and that all happened. Mike McDaniel is on the hot seat. They lose Tyreek Hill for the season. All of this like adds up to, you know what? They should spiral out of control. You're talking potential number one pick at that point, but they bounce back. Like you mentioned, 5 of their last 6, 4 in a row. And listen, it's not a murderer's row of opponents. You beat the Saints, you beat the Jets, but you also take the Bills to town, right? And you put up a big number on them. So, shout out to the Dolphins here. Feisty, showing some signs of life. Like, I don't know what this means for Mike McDaniel moving forward, but at least they're making it interesting a little bit at this time of year, which a lot of teams, they'd roll over and die, play for the tank, live for the tank, but not the Dolphins. So I respect them for that. All right, Boom. So we talked about some of the 6 and 7 teams, but as of right now, there's a trio of quarterbacks who are not slated to make the playoffs, and that is Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson. Now, assuming these guys don't make it, any one of the three, however you want to phrase it, which quarterback would you miss most once January comes around?
Yeah, say a prayer for your favorite sports TV executive, right? If those guys aren't in it, no, I'm sure they'll be fine. Mahomes. It has to be Mahomes. Burrow hasn't been to the playoffs in so long; he forgot how to flip a calendar to January, and Lamar isn't much of a postseason performer either at this point in his career. Let's be honest. So while I look for the opportunity for Lamar to reverse that narrative, it's Patrick Mahomes. January and February is when goats do goat things, and I put Mahomes in that conversation for sure. And him missing his age 30 postseason is going to be a serious blemish on Mahomes' overall career resume when we're looking back at it. Right in the thick of his prime, and all these Super Bowl runs, and then not even an appearance would be quite the quite the blemish, I would say.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with any flavor of ice cream except mint chocolate chip. I digress, but
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
terrible
it,
flavor.
it's terrible flavor. Like, who wants chocolate toothpaste? Like, I don't understand. But anyway,
That's
Boom.
so bad.
What's that?
Chocolate toothpaste?
Chocolate tooth. It's disgusting. Who wants that? Mint chocolate chip ice cream. That's
Oh,
basically
I
what it
guess,
is.
wow, you really just rebranded Big Chocolate Chip on me.
It's disgusting. It's
That
awful.
was crazy.
That's awful. Anyway, Boom, this is a pure subjective answer, right? It all comes down to who you're going to misplay the most, right? And for me, I look at Joe Burrow. I just love the way Burrow plays. There's something like
Yeah, which is
there's a perfect mix of old school and new school with Burrow. Um, I see the way he operates from the pocket and it's bombs away and he finds the guys and he's quick to release, but he also has that escapability that makes it so much fun to watch, right? And on top of that, he deserves another bite at the apple here. He revived that franchise. He electrified that city, and for me, it's like, how many years in a row have the Bengals defense let him down, where he's had to put them on his back, or his offensive line hasn't been good, or he's been betrayed by his own body too with the injuries, right? So, if the Bengals don't make it, I just it's tough for me to say, over the other two guys. Maybe it's Mahomes' recency bias and Lamar will do Lamar things otherwise, and I enjoy watching him play. But to your point, hasn't been a postseason performer, and it's just not the same guy we've seen in the regular season. So, I think I'm going to miss Burrow more than any of the other guys. Should he not make it?
those Burrow interceptions yesterday were pretty crazy. The Benford one, what a play by him. But yeah, I don't know how. To me, like the second one was Joe being like, "I'm not going to be afraid to throw the ball near like the line of scrimmage just because this happened one time." And then Joe Davis on the Fox broadcast said it best: lightning strikes twice for the Bengals. I mean,
Yeah.
only the Bengals that could happen to.
Yeah, and
Um,
you're leading that late in the game too, man. It's like, it's awful, awful, awful. But Bills still frauds. What do you think? Bills still frauds? You
Bills
believers in
frauds?
Bills
No.
frauds?
Mm-mm.
No. All right,
Nope.
all
Nope.
right.
Nope. Nope. Nope.
You
Will
won't
not be
go
putting
there.
the F word on them.
All right, boom. I want to touch on the Bears here, and serious, a simple and serious question here. What did you see from Caleb Williams yesterday? We know that he's been ice cold in the fourth quarter. Very inconsistent this year at times. Like Ben Johnson has definitely gotten a decent amount out of him, but you throw the interception, in the end zone seals that game. Green Bay wins. What's your biggest takeaway on Caleb Williams right now?
Yeah, that's going to be a really interesting game tape to break down. I'm looking forward to the Orlovskis and the Warners of the world sinking their teeth into that and then telling me what I should know, because I really don't know what the heck I'm talking about when it comes to quarterback play most of the time. He had a brutal start. I think it was 0 for 6 to start the game, and then to find him rebounding the way he did in that middle portion was actually like really impressive. Overall, he was still pretty inefficient, completing less than 60% of his passes, but the way that he keeps plays alive, the throws on the run, rolling to his right multiple times. You had one on the touchdown, you had one on the throw to Komet near the right sideline. Those are just outstanding. Those are plays that you can't teach, plays that you frankly don't want to teach either, because he's holding onto the ball for so long, waiting for things to happen. But he showed me a different level of compete that I didn't know that he had going against this Packers defense, answering in the second half the way that he did. Obviously, like, the result didn't pan out. He missed maybe Komet or a different receiver on that final 4th and 1 that resulted in the game-ending interception. Really interesting that they ran the same exact play that they did on Black Friday against the Eagles. I thought I would have assumed maybe a little bit more creativity on the part of Ben Johnson there, but I get that he likes to have all those options available to Caleb, with him either using his legs or finding a guy in the flat or potentially nailing the deep throw, which did not work out this time, obviously. But yeah, I think that you could only view that as a positive for Caleb Williams. If we only view quarterback performances through the prism of wins and losses, then we've lost the plot entirely. And I think you have to like what you saw if you're a Bears fan.
Yeah, boom. It's the classic. You see a lot of these. To your point, I'm not a quarterback guru like Orlovsky or any of these other guys, but you see these quarterbacks who come out, and the number one challenge for a lot of guys, especially Caleb Williams, Kyler Murray, Zach Wilson, we heard it about, and it's all about playing in structure, right? Like play the boring brand of football, and then the exciting stuff happens later, right? So I think with Caleb, you're seeing a little bit more of the structure this year, but you're still seeing the stuff that made him a superstar in college, right? It's the throws on the run, the electric arm, like making some of these incredible throws. So I think that's still more to come as part of his learning process with Ben Johnson. So, Bears fans should be happy with the season. They should be happy with Caleb Williams. Like there's still plenty of growth to be had, but it's hard to not look at the season and look at it as a plus overall.